YouTube and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. 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 Follow the leader.
Say you bigger than myself, but it's not enough. Hey. Hey.
What's that on that beat?
Second bad, but somebody gotta do it. Got my foot up on the gas, but somebody gotta do it. Turn this TV off, turn this TV off. 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 Ain't no other king in this rap thing, they siblings. Nothing but my children. One shot, they disappearing. I'm in a city with a flag be getting thrown like it was past interference. Padlock around the building, crash pulling up.
You are listening to the Black Pack here on KBLA Talk 1580. And Andy, I feel like I'm back in SoFi Stadium. I feel like I am back in SoFi Stadium with Kendrick and Mustard. I appreciate that. We are having an all LA show today, which is a first for the Black Pack. We're so pleased to have been joined by Dr. Melina Abdullah to talk about the anniversary of the murder of George Floyd and the organizing that BLM Grassroots is doing. And so I'm also, happy to be able to talk about some of the other organizing that's happening both around the country and here in Los Angeles as well. So we are joined right now by Kevin Cosney, who is the Associate Director and co-founder of California Black Power Network. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I appreciate you taking the time. I know that that things are very busy. There has been we've been talking a little bit from show to show about the State of the People Power Tour that kicked off a month ago or so. I don't even remember. It feels like came into existence like with the snap of a finger. Like a few people were like, we should start engaging Black communities. We need to talk to our folks. We need to listen to our folks. We need to be in community and talk about how we plan and strategize a way forward for our community. And then suddenly it was just in a bunch of cities, right? And so the tour is in Jackson, Mississippi this weekend. It will then go to Louisville at the top of the week and then end right here in Los Angeles next Friday and Saturday. So there's been a group of folks that have been planning together, right? Kevin, you are one of the co-leads along with Derek Steele from the Social Justice Learning Initiative. You tell me if I said that wrong. Or Derek will, yes, as well as the folks from Leaders Up, and some other folks as well, right? Folks in Pasadena who are engaged in trying to set up the Saturday, which next Saturday the tour will be in Pasadena, and then we'll be here on Friday. But talk to us a little bit about why you felt like it was important for the California Black Power Network to be engaged in this kind of national effort that's also helping to bring folks together on the local level.
Yeah, absolutely, Adrian. And again, shout out to Social Justice Learning Institute and Leaders Up, and Black Pack, right, for really helping lead the charge on this thing. We're at a critical juncture as Black Americans, as Black Californians, and as Black Angelenos. Mm-hmm. And there's this narrative that we are disengaging or should be disengaged, and I think that's false and dangerous, right? Mm-hmm. We see this event as not the end of a tour, but really an entry point for so many of our communities to join into the long legacy of work to create a more just LA, a more just state of California, and a more just country. And Black folks have always been at the forefront of that fight and will continue to be at the forefront of that fight. We know we are always most endangered when we see regimes like this current Trump administration, and also, right, disasters like the wildfires that spread throughout Southern California. So it's always imperative for us to be engaged, and we are engaged. So again, we don't see this as the end of this tour, but really a beginning point for many of our communities to join in to the work that members of our organization, right, California Black Power Network, have been doing for decades, and will continue to do after this event.
Yeah, and I mean, this is it's such an important point. I mean, I was talking to Melina Abdullah earlier in the show about this idea that, you know, when Black folks are not doing movement in the way that other people, you know, can quantify it, then there's this sense, and particularly in this moment, that we're not doing anything, right? And it really is the case that it, you know, none of this in this moment of peril, right, both for the country and for our community, this sort of one-day events just are not going to cut it, right? It has to be more than that. Those have to be opportunities to plan and to strategize, right, and to sort of get ourselves together and just to be in community. And I feel like that's part of what's happening with this sort of like, where are the Black folks, right? It is, we're not doing the one-day big splash, and so therefore people can't understand what we might possibly be doing.
That's right. That's right. And shout out to Dr. Melina Abdullah. One of the reasons I chose and love to hear Kendrick and TV Office, because we know that TV, the revolution won't be televised, and the work is happening day in, day out. Yeah. It's in the work of engaging with our communities, face to face, door to door, phone to phone. It's in the work of building coalition and building community. It's been the work of the mutual aid that many folks like Brandon Lamar, shout out to NAACP up in Pasadena, have been leading. So the work has been going on. It's going to go on, and it's not going to be performative. It's not going to be when certain folks say it should be or when it wants to be. It's ongoing. And we know we got to pace ourselves. It's a marathon, but we are out here and we're doing that work.
Yeah. So when we come forward, I want to talk a little bit about what the 2 days are going to look like, and also how people can get involved. There's a link that people can go to register for the 2 days, and we'll make sure that we get that to folks. But more with Kevin Cosney, Associate Director and co-founder of the California Black Power Network, when we come forward.
You're part of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580.
One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again. Hello.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say.
Let's do this.
Let's get it on. On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There'll be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
We love you. Love you.
Now at Verizon, we have some big news for your peace of mind. For all our customers, existing and new, we're locking in low prices for 3 years guaranteed on My Plan and My Home. That's future you peace of mind. And everyone can save on a brand new phone on My Plan when you trade in any phone from one of our top brands. That's new phone peace of mind. Because at Verizon, whether you're already a customer or you're just joining us, we got you. Visit Verizon today. Price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
What? All the budget has to be used now? And we can use all the media buy?
Javier's marketing firm just got its dream funding.
Okay, ideas. Bobbleheads. No. T-shirt cannon. I seriously need some help here.
He needs to find marketing managers who are worth every dollar.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Sponsoring a job on Indeed gives it a visibility boost, so you can hire faster. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Let's get back to more of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
We are continuing our conversation with Kevin Cosney, Associate Director and co-founder of the California Black Power Network. I want to, Kevin, talk about what is going to be happening at the State of the People next weekend. But before we do that, I want to ask you to talk a little bit about the California Black Power Network and the work that you all have been doing, not just on the preparation, right, for this 2-day, movement experience, but also about the work that you all do every day with your partner organizations to organize and mobilize and advocate on behalf of Black communities across the state. So talk to me about the work that you all do.
Absolutely. I appreciate that question. The California Black Power Network is a coalition of 46 Black-led and serving grassroots community organizations across the state of California and in 13 counties across the state. And we've come together really to impact and improve the lived conditions of Black folks. We engage year in, day in, day out throughout the year in community organizing and base building work, narrative and communications and arts and culture work to bring our folks together and shift consciousness and understanding of the world around us. And voter and civic engagement to make sure that our folks are civically engaged in the process that actually creates the laws that we live by, and policy development, advocacy, and direct action, right, to make sure that we can actually create some systems change to better shape the world that we live in. So, what that looks like is just a couple of weeks ago, we had 100 Black leaders across the state up in community members, right, up in the state Capitol, right, talking about our policy priorities to make sure that our folks have access to housing, to make sure that the legislature is moving on reparations, right, which has been a big conversation in this state.
And you all have led on some of that reparations work, right? I mean, I feel like that's been, Melina raised the question too about, sort of how that has landed in the state and the work that still needs to be done. But can you talk a little bit about the reparations work that you all have been working on?
Absolutely. We've been certainly contributing to the chorus of voices, right, that have been calling for repair in our community. Folks may know that the California approved a task force to explore both what are the harms that have been done to Black Californians and what could repair look like. That task force wrapped up its work in 2023, but California Black Power Network was one of a handful of organizations that were engaged in the community engagement portion of that. We held 10 listening sessions across the state of California to engage 300 Black folks, right, in the questions of what have the harms been, what does repair look like, and even, how do we think about eligibility? Some really important questions that really helped shape the task force report that led to hundreds of recommendations and has since then been really launching a broader coalition across the state of California that includes a number of the task force members, a number of organizations like Black Equity Collective, Talos California, Live Free, and numerous other array of multiracial organizations that are all in support and solidarity and taking action around reparations for Black Californians, and have been engaging the California Black Caucus and the legislature at large to make sure that those recommendations from the task force are turning into policy.
So I appreciate that, because I think that sometimes it's because there's so much going on, right, in the world, in this country, and in people's lives. Sometimes it's easy to lose track of what happens to important policy conversations, right? And so I think that it's important for people to know that the conversation around reparations in the state is not over, right? Like it, again, it wasn't a single moment, right? And then kind of went away, right? And so I feel like it's important, and I appreciate the work that you all continue to do around it, but it's important for folks to recognize that this is still an ongoing effort to get those recommendations implemented. Is that right?
Absolutely, right. And I think it's important to know, right? I think oftentimes when folks hear reparations, they think 40 acres and a mule or a check, right? But it's important to
a bag of cash,
framework.
a bag of cash on my doorstep is what I'm looking for.
Right. Which, that end, right? And I think it's important for us to have an expanded understanding what reparations is. In order to really gain the repair that we deserve, right? So at the international level, it is certainly compensation, but also includes restitution, rehabilitation, satisfaction, and what I think is one of the most important pieces is guarantees of non-repetition and cessation of harm, right? So you can't say you're making up for the harms of slavery while slavery is still in our state and federal constitution, right? So there is you have to stop the harm before you start apologizing and repairing the harm. But it's expansive, right? And so there are, again, over 300 recommendations that the task force came up with to address repair. And it's also important to note that reparations is about human rights violations. So those violations started with slavery, but certainly did not end. And we know there's an unbroken chain from periods of enslavement up until today, whether we talk about 13th Amendment slavery or we talk about eminent domain or redlining and, so many of the harms. And so we are moving on all of those fronts, and it's important for us to stay engaged. The energy in 2020 that helped make the task force a reality, where folks were in the streets, is the type of energy that we'll need to continue to make progress and turn these recommendations into policy.
Yeah, I appreciate that because it is one, both important, again, that people know that this is an ongoing fight and there are places for them to plug in, right? So if folks want to get involved, there is an opportunity for them to plug in, but people are still out there advocating. And I think that this is one of the topics, the kinds of topics that will be discussed at the State of the People Power Tour. Right. So let's talk just for a few minutes about kind of what we hope to gain. What is both the organizers here in Los Angeles, but then nationally, what's the goal here, right? So if this is not just an event, right, that's going to happen over the course of a couple of days, what is the importance of the State of the People Power Tour, and particularly here in Los Angeles, what are the objectives that folks have for this moment?
Absolutely, yeah. So this is a two-day event that will really span, right, L.A. County, right, from the heart of Los Angeles, Black L.A., from South L.A. all the way up to Pasadena. And really, again, we see this as an entry point, an invitation for a community who has not been involved, right, to join the conversation, to join the work in building the communities in the state and the country that will honor, uplift, and help build a thriving Black community. So we're inviting folks into conversations to both hear what's happening at the national, state, and local level and why this moment is so important and critical for us to be engaged. But we want to hear from and be in conversation with community about what folks are seeing, hearing, feeling, and what folks want to do and how they want to plug into all of the work, right? And even beyond that, right, connecting so many of the folks in this area that have been doing the work, right, to make sure that we have opportunities to join arm and have a united front that we can move forward with, again, as we bring to life, right, this vision that we have for ourselves and our community. So we'll definitely have some conversations about what's going on. We'll have some conversations with community about what they see and feel and want. And, of course, right, we can't get Black folks together without also having a good time and centering Black joy. And so we want to have some art. We'll have arts and culture and healing and resources and opportunities to learn about what's going on in the community, again, and how you can plug it.
Yeah. And so it's looking like it's 2 days. The first day will be here in South LA next Friday, June 6th from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. There'll be panels, there'll be workshops, there'll be opportunities for folks to engage and talk to each other. There'll be some resources that will be provided from some of the service organizations throughout our community. And it will then pick up the next day. On Saturday, June 7th, in Pasadena. And the same goals and same purpose to bring people together in community to provide some resources and relief to folks in the Pasadena, Altadena area, and to engage with elected leaders about what needs to be done in terms of the rebuilding process and making sure that people are whole. So it's Friday, Saturday, and Kevin, do you have the website for where people can go to register? Because folks do have to register to participate, and we want to make sure that folks go and do that. What's the website that people can go to?
So it's stateofthepeople.com, but people is PPL. So it's state, STATE, of, OF, the, THE, people, PPL.com. And on that website, you'll see tour info, and that'll take you to a place where you can find Los Angeles, or you could go to straight to stateofthepeople.com/Los Angeles. That's LOS-Angeles, ANGELES.
So State of the People. This is how bad I am. Stateofthepeople.com.
Stateofthepeople.com, but people is spelled PPL.
Yeah, P is in Paul, L, right? So we just want to make sure that people get that down. We'll repeat it again just later on in the show, just so that folks have it and can go there and register. Kevin, let's talk about the this idea of, again, because we're saying that this is not just a one day or even a 2-day effort. This is about building ongoing political power and community power. And so what are the kinds of topics, right, that folks will be talking about so that we can, think about not just the what do we need to do, but also how do we make sure that folks get engaged and involved in sort of advocacy and power building in their communities? What are the kinds of things that folks will be talking about?
Absolutely. I mean, one, certainly having a conversation about what are the impacts of this current administration on Black folks from a various different perspectives across the country on various different issues, right? From democracy to immigrant rights to reproductive justice. We'll have a number of workshops that dig in deeper into things like how we utilize our vote to make an impact. How we ensure Black women are and their leadership is honored and protected. How we're continuing the work to create safer communities for ourselves, and how we know what that looks like. Mm-hmm. And we'll have other panels and speakers really talking about that ongoing work, right, in the state of California, both to repair past harms and to build brighter, thriving Black futures. On day 2, we will be wrapping our arms around our loved ones who have survived the Eaton fires, and really hearing about what has happened, right? What is the story the DINA, right, there's so much that has come out of, and for folks who haven't heard the history of Altadena in particular, right, there's so much beauty in the story of our loved ones out there, and even more so in the resilience in the wake of the fire. Folks will be able to hear about what mutual aid efforts and other organizing efforts have been in place and will continue to work throughout that region to make sure folks are clear on what's out there, how they can get involved, how they can benefit and get access to the resources they need. Again, a number of workshops to help folks navigate the various programs and red tape around insurance and all of those pieces, right? And certainly last but not least, an opportunity to engage with elected officials in that region to make sure that they're hearing from community about the needs and the questions that folks have of how did the fire start? What could have been done to mitigate it? What was going on the night of when the fires broke out and really hit community? We know that on the west side of Lake, the kind of the black area, the historically black area of Altadena, didn't get evacuation warning. Right. Their notice came, 8 or so hours after the other side of town got notices, and when they came out, they saw no firefighters on their street. Right. So where were the resources? Where's the infrastructure for water, right? And more importantly, right, what does rebuilding look like? People have a lot of concerns around the toxicity of the air and the ground, and concerns about what rebuilding looks like. So there will be opportunity for folks to air those grievances and make those demands and be in conversation with elected officials. And again, a number of resources around health, wellness, arts, culture, all of those things. I believe in some giveaways to, again, make sure that the community is getting what they need, and an opportunity for community build amongst ourselves as we move forward into the future.
All right, when we come forward, we are going to continue this conversation with Kevin Cosney, Associate Director and co-founder of the California Black Power Network, and this incredible tour that has been, popping up, little pop-ups all around, not even little, some big, all around the country, is coming to Los Angeles. We want to make sure that folks know about it, that folks turn out. So more when we come forward on that and on the work of the California Black Power Network. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Stay with us.
More of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. After more than a decade, Lester Holt signs off from NBC Nightly News tonight. But don't worry, he's not retiring. Here's what he said in a previous interview about moving forward.
Doors open in life when you least expect them, and you want to be in a position you're ready. So, make sure that you're thinking about that next job, and when something is put in front of you, you can say, hey, I can do that.
Holt is shifting full-time to Dateline NBC. The Supreme Court just gave the Trump administration the green light to end legal protections for over 500,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Liberal Justices Ketanji Brown Jackson and Sonia Sotomayor dissented in the decision. And Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated just made history, launching its first UK chapter in London. With 25 powerhouse women leading the charge, they're already serving the community with meals, mentorship, and support for Black-owned businesses. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Delays in Gardena due to a crash. This is on the 110 northbound connector to the 91 west. A wreck blocking lanes. Delays from the 405 in Sun Valley. This crash on the 5 northbound at Penrose. 2 middle lanes are blocked, and that drive is a mess out of Burbank getting away from Empire. In Boyle Heights, car is on fire. 5 southbound 4th Street. 3 right lanes are blocked, and that southbound side of the 5 is just a huge mess overall out of Burbank, leaving Olive.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and more for a child in poverty. And there are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
When UCLA plays Texas Tech Saturday in the Women's College World Series, there's a good chance the Bruins will face the #1 softball player in the country. Pitcher Najari Kennedy, an African-American from Topeka, Kansas, was the Softball Player of the Year in 2024 and is the leading candidate to win it again this year. Kennedy threw a complete game 2-hit shutout Thursday in a 1-0 win over Mississippi. She had 10 strikeouts and at one point during the game retired 16 straight batters. Texas Tech coach Gary Glasgow has yet to say if Kennedy will be his starting pitcher against UCLA. Glasgow has until 30 minutes before game time to turn in his lineup. If Glasgow feels Kennedy can go with one day's rest, UCLA could be in for a tough day. 4 p.m. start tomorrow on ESPN. One more thing about Kennedy, she's the first softball player to sign a $1 million NIL deal. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black. Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Your life and your loved ones' lives depends on what you've done to prepare. Disasters, shortages, supply chain failures, they're not ifs, they're wins. Don't be left without life-saving medication. The JACE case is a prescribed set of emergency antibiotics, life-saving medications you have on hand before you need them, offering peace of mind, no panicking, fast, affordable, and could save your life. Go to JASE.com. Use code RADIO for a discount, because once the shelves are empty, it's already too late.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're inside the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580.
We are continuing our conversation with Kevin Cosney, Associate Director and co-founder of the California Black Power Network, about the upcoming State of the People Power Tour that is making its way across the country. It has been in 9 cities, I think. If I'm counting right, I may be off, Kevin, but I think it's been in 9 cities so far. Is in Jackson, Mississippi this weekend. In fact, day 1 is today, and then will make its way to Louisville, Kentucky at the top of the week before coming here to Los Angeles. And Kevin, you started to talk a little bit about just the sort of peril, right, that both our nation and our communities are in under the current Trump regime, right? The tour started right around the time of the 100-day mark, right, of this administration. And we've seen him do, all kinds of damage since then, right? Attacking law firms, attacking universities, attacking cultural institutions, particularly our cultural institutions, right? He's made threats against nonprofits and civil society groups, and we're seeing more of that to come. Attacks on, immigrant rights organizations, on climate and environmental organizations, and certainly the attacks on voting rights organizations will come. We've seen them move through communities, rounding up people, disappearing students, all of the things that they said they would do. To be clear, right? All of the things that they said they would do, both on the campaign trail and in, their document, Project 2025. But we know that there's also the budget bill, the spending bill that, was passed in the House, that will cause deep and wide harm to our communities, including, health damage and food security and housing and education and all the things that we could think about, just in terms of the ways that they continue to attack and dismantle all the institutions that are there to actually help communities thrive, right? Any institutional program that's going to help communities thrive, they're trying to get rid of it. I say all of that because at the same time that folks are grappling with how to address, what's happening at the federal level, we still have to build power in our local communities, right? And build an ecosystem, right, within our local communities. I'm glad that you said this is really happening throughout LA County, right? Because we know that we need to connect our communities wherever they are. California Black Power Network is obviously connecting Black communities across the state. But let's talk a little bit about how we balance the responses, right? How we balance the response to all the tsunami of total nonsense, and psychotic behavior and horrible, damaging, and destructive policies coming out of Washington, and the need to also focus on what's happening right here in our own communities and states. How do you all think about that balance, and how do your partners think about that?
What's resonated with me is the old adage of think global and act local. And so in many ways, right, the local work is just a microcosm of the national work, and the power that needs to be built, the conversations that need to happen, all happening on a local level. I want to take a moment to shout out Pasadena school board member Patrice Marshall McKenzie, who consistently reminds us what happened in Medinas with the Eaton fire is, again, just a microcosm of what's happening to Black LA, Black California, and Black America. At the end of the day, we know that Black folks are most vulnerable when crisis strikes, whether it's budget cuts, whether it's emergency response and the social safety net. So, in many ways, right, the issues that we deal with on a day-to-day basis at a very local level are only going to be amplified, right, by the moves that this current administration is doing. And so it's really much about helping connect the dots and saying the power that we need to build, the action we need to take to, fight for the unhoused here in Los Angeles is the same type of energy and the same type of fight that we'll have to have at the federal level when it comes to slashing the social safety net in the way that we're seeing. So it is really about how do we link arms at a local level, have conversations with our neighbors, right, about these various issues and help connect the dots. I think there's a struggle, right, in many ways, because Black folks have often don't get the opportunity to have to pick and choose, right? We are often find ourselves fighting on multiple fronts. And so in many ways, this isn't new for us, right? We no matter what situation we find ourselves in, we've had to fight at the federal level, at the state level, at the county level, and the city level. I think it's with a different intensity. So we're working to connect those dots and make sure that our folks are in communication with each other, because it's community that sustains us through this work.
And so it makes me think about you talked earlier about the the California Black Power Network, right? And the need to connect those dots, right, of organizations and communities across the state. And so I wonder if you just talk a little bit about, your hopes and your plans for continuing the growth of the organizations that are participating in this State of the People Power Tour, that participate in you all's network, right? What are your hopes for how this opportunity, right, to bring folks together can actually impact the work that is happening and the work that needs to be done amongst Black organizations, right? I'm saying amongst Black organizations in particular, because if there was ever a moment, right, to think about how we are building an ecosystem that is, working together in concert to move forward what we need to move forward. It seems like this is that moment.
Absolutely, and I love that you use the term Black ecosystem, because that's what we've been calling it. The California Black Power Network has been linking arms, again, with groups like the Black Equity Collective, which is another kind of coalition that supports numerous of service providers, Black-led service providers. And I think, and SJLI with the local kind of LA coalition that they've been building, right? So this is, an opportunity for us to connect and align and give space, right, to really lay out all of the work that's been happening, and continue to join arms and share notes of what's happening. But I think even more importantly, right, an opportunity to put this work out in front of community members, again, to identify ways that they can plug in and join in, and even inform the work that we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a, again, in the spirit of, this is not just a one-day event or a two-day event. This really is an opportunity. This is an organizing opportunity, right, for our community, and gives us an opportunity to say, okay, how are we pulling together to support all of the rest of the work, right, that is going to come afterwards, to give us a chance to, figure out collectively how we're going to move forward, what that looks like. You talked about locking arms. Exactly how are we locking arms, and how are we walking forward together. So I wanted to raise that, because it does seem like this really does advance, in some ways will help to advance you all's mission, right, as a network, and hopefully bring, I assume for you all, it also means helping to bring more people into that, or more organizations into that network as well. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yes, because we certainly know we're not the end all be all. And there's a lot of folks that are doing good work. And I'm meeting folks even now in this process that we need to continue to build with. And so just being in space together to see what are you doing and what are you doing? Oh, and how does that connect, right? I think is extremely important. And, I think this is certainly, an organizing opportunity. And it's powerful when you can be in a space and you can see, various elements of one large body, right? It kind of brings it both into focus, and you start to feel the gravity and the weight of it when you see, okay, this is what all of our LA partners look like and do, and having it all in one space, right? I think is critical. And again, just a beginning point. And I mean, I think even to this point of the national front, right, we've heard a number of studies that say we need sustained action, right? It'll take, 3 to 5% of the population engaging in kind of ongoing disruption, work to delegitimize the kind of lies of this administration, to have folks defecting, and build coalitions. And both, yes, folks that want to just make sure we don't fall into authoritarianism. Right. But two, we have to have a vision, right? We have to have something to believe in, to aspire to. And so a lot of this work is also about what is the vision that we have for ourselves that we want to fight for. It's not enough to just fight against something. You have to be fighting for something. Yeah. And I think when you have this mosaic of Black organizations and leaders and community members, that is that helps, right, bring that vision to folks.
Yeah. And so if you want to get involved and register, folks need to go to stateofthepeople.com, stateoftheppl.com, and register, because you're required to be registered to participate in next Friday and Saturday's events. We're going to wrap up this conversation with Kevin Cosney of the California Black Power Network when we come forward. Stay with us. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
You're part of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, also known as AD, a type of dementia that affects memory, thinking, and behavior, making everyday tasks challenging. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? There are things you can do to help reduce your risk for developing AD. Managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure is crucial. Staying physically active, maintaining social connections, eating a healthy diet, and keeping your mind engaged with activities like reading or puzzles can all contribute to brain health. It's also important to recognize some common signs and symptoms of early AD, such as forgetfulness that causes problems with everyday life, asking the same question a few times in a row, and difficulty concentrating on basic tasks. If you see these signs in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatallzearly.com. That's treatallzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Marina Del Rey turns 60, and you're invited to the party. Join us Saturday, May 31st from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Burton Chase Park for Marina Culture Jam, a free community celebration packed with music, dance, art, and fun for all ages. Experience electrifying performances by Takeo Project and Inca. Take a historic harbor tour, join the Freedom Drum Circle, and hop on a $1 water bus ride. Celebrate culture, connection, and coastline. RSVP at beaches.lacounty.gov/Marina Culture Jam.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's get back to more of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
We are wrapping up our conversation with Kevin Cosney, Associate Director and co-founder of California Black Power Network, and one of the co-leads for the LA Stop. I want to say LA City Stop, but it really isn't. It's LA County Stop for the State of the People Power Tour. So Kevin, I know we only have you for a few more minutes. I wanted to just ask you to talk about why it's important for people to come out next Friday and Saturday to the State of the People Power Tour. Why? I mean, it's, certainly, folks can come and, take advantage of the, music, right? You talked about arts and culture. I believe there'll be food, right? But talk about why else it's important for folks to come out next weekend.
You took my best card, Adrianne. But yeah,
sorry.
Right? Get informed, right? Get involved. Be a part of the conversation, and yes, come have fun and get fed at the same time.
Yeah, and there'll be lots of people. I mean, I think the thing that that we've talked about or haven't talked about is we'll have lots of folks, national leaders, we'll have local and state leaders, some of your fave elected leaders from here in LA will be there. We'll have folks from national organizations. Derek Johnson from the NAACP will join us. Angela Rye and her team from Native Land Pod will be on hand. So there'll be lots of people coming through. And it feels, again, like, we talk about people looking for opportunities to get engaged. And I think that what you all are trying to provide is one of those opportunities for people who feel like they don't quite know how to connect. They want to do something, but they don't quite know how to connect. It seems like you are creating an opportunity for people to plug in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes the weight of the world can feel overwhelming, and it's hard to know where to start. But it's so much easier when you are in the midst of hundreds of people who are already doing the work, and you can plug in, right? They say no one can do everything, but everyone can do something, and this is a part to do the something, right, and be a part of the everyone. And I think that helps, right? Many hands make light work, right? And so that's what this is about. It's building community, bringing us all into the conversation, and saying together, we got this.
Mm-hmm. And I think that there will, and to think about what we do next, because I will keep emphasizing this. I know you all are emphasizing this too, but there are many things that will come after. I know that you all at the California Black Power Network are planning events. Our friends at the Community Coalition are planning activities and engagement. There will be a lot more opportunities for people to continue their participation even after next weekend, right?
That's absolutely right. Juneteenth is coming up, so there'll be a number of activations happening around then. We got Black August coming up. Certainly, we'll be continuing to watch the California State Legislature through the end of their session all the way through September. The work continues, right? And so, again, we're here for the long haul. This may be the last stop of the tour, but it's the beginning of our journey together as Black Angelenos and Black Californians.
Yep. And then I'm going to ask you a question that I feel like I ask almost everybody, and that is, you've been doing this work for a long time. And we are in a moment in American history that we've not seen before. At least those of us alive, right, have not seen this before. And the work can be daunting, and we hear this oftentimes, again, from community folks, that it can be overwhelming and people don't know where to start or where to plug in. And so I always ask people this question of, you're trying to do this work in the midst of this daunting moment as well. What keeps you motivated? Like, what keeps you going? What's advice, right, that you could give to people about staying plugged in, coming out next week, finding a way to stay engaged and to stay involved? What do you do, and what advice do you have for others?
I mean, first and foremost, my babies are always a driving force, right? That's who we do it for, as the next generation. So, but right, just tapping in and having a moment to be with them, right, and enjoy the Black joy and innocence, right, that's still with our young people. And being in community, I think, is one thing that just helps ground. So whatever it is that you do to ground yourself, that is important to not let go of, right? And so always build time for that. Touch grass, put your feet in the soil, go garden, go shoot some hoops, do what you do, right? But that said, right, don't take your foot all the way off the gas. Part of this administration strategy is to overwhelm and create chaos, right? And so they will throw out 100 different things every single day to disorient, right, and have us going every which way. And so I think one of the things that I've heard that I think is really valuable is identify, 1 to 2 issues. What makes sense to you? 1 or 2 issues that you really care about. Is it safety net? Is it immigrant rights? Is it public safety? Right? Pick an issue and focus in on that, and find an organization in your community that is working on that, and put your all into that, because doom scrolling is only going to exhaust you mentally, physically, spiritually. Trying to follow every headline is really just not even sustainable or possible at this point. So pick an issue, pick 1, pick 2, pick 3 issues that you have the capacity to hold on to, and dig in, right? Just dig in on what matters to you, and then find the time to make sure you're protecting your well-being.
Okay, Kevin Cosney, Associate Director and co-founder of California Black Power Network and one of the co-leads for the LA stop of the State of the People Power Tour. I want to thank you for joining us. And you said that one of the things that brings you joy, keeps you going, is checking in on your babies. And I know that you need to go because you have kid activities right now that you are supposed to be at. So I'm not going to hold you from being daddy. So thanks, Kevin. And I know that we'll have you back on to talk about the work that you all and your partners in the California Black Power Network are doing. But I appreciate you taking the time to talk about the State of the People Power Tour.
Absolutely. You know, after school starts charging by the minute if you're late. So I'm going to hit the road, but I deeply appreciate the space and the partnership. And yes, come out June 6th and 7th. We'd love to see you there. Thank you.
All right, Kevin. So let me say that one more time because I definitely messed this up earlier, as I do from time to time, mess up the websites. To register for the State of the People Power Tour, go to stateofthepeople.com, stateoftheppl.com. And make sure that you register and come out because, again, this is an opportunity for us to be in community. This is an opportunity for us to engage with elected leaders. This is an opportunity to engage with national leaders, all about what are we doing right now? How are we planning and strategizing together, right? How are we making sure that we're taking care of each other in this moment, that we're looking out for each other in this moment when that is really what we need. It is, we have a long history, as Dr. Melina Abdullah was saying earlier in the show. We are always engaged and active when it comes time to make sure that America fulfills its promise. And this time is no different, but we have always done it in community with one another. And I just want to note, and I know that you all have been hearing the various promotions, but our KBLA Talk 1580 4th anniversary is coming up, and there are events fast approaching, and seating at all 4 of our special events is getting tight. So there's one more thing for you to make sure that you go and register for. If you haven't registered, go to KBLA1580.com to the website, and encourage yourself and others to show up and to register. Don't get left out of this anniversary event. Again, it's the 4th anniversary, and we want to celebrate with all of you. If you're planning to join us for the celebration and barbecue on the Juneteenth holiday, we are again asking folks, again in service of taking care of each other, asking folks to bring a gift card of any amount for the victims of the Altadena fire, whether it's grocery store chain or restaurant. We'll be grateful for whatever folks can bring. So go to KBLA1580.com and register to join us for the 4-year anniversary events. It is a big celebration, and we would love to see all of you there. You have been listening to the Black Pack. I am Adrianne Shropshire. I hope you all have a great weekend, and join us again here next Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Have a great weekend.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Mayor Eric Adams is expanding New York City's Swim for Life program, investing $5.5 million to teach nearly 5,000 more kids to swim.
Giving them the skill of knowing how to swim is a life-saving skill that they will always have.
The free class is now renamed for 2 teens who drowned last summer, will reach 18,000 second graders across all 5 boroughs. Louisiana's Attorney General is taking over the probe into the escape of 10 detainees from the Orleans Parish Jail. Black DA Jason Williams requested the handoff, citing a conflict with his ongoing investigation into Sheriff Susan Hudson's office. And rapper NBA Youngboy is thanking President Trump after receiving a pardon this week. The 25-year-old has been serving time for federal gun charges. In a statement, he said the pardon gives him a chance to grow as a man, father, and artist, and to move forward. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Baldwin Park, it's a crash. This is on the 605.